Hello, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome to a pre-recorded episode of That Millwall Podcast where myself and Frankie are going to sort of have a look at some well-needed reinforcements, mate, ain't we?
100%, mate. Look forward to it today. I know we've got some good names on our list, so hopefully someone from the club's listening.
No, exactly. And we just thought that, with the transfer window open now, Alex Neil's come in. He wouldn't have took the job without probably knowing what he's got to be had in the transfer window, and we're definitely short in a few positions. I put a tweet out last night that I think we need probably a centre-back, left-back hybrid, if you can't get both, at least one that can cover both positions comfortably. We probably need another man in midfield, maybe a utility man who can play in the cam, probably play out wide. And we probably need an out-and-out cam and potentially a striker or a target man. We have got some of those players that we're going to talk through in a second that me and Frankie have selected. But it's come out today, mate, that there's a report that Kevin Nisbet in Aberdeen, there has been a report that's just come out that I've just read that they want to keep him there. The recall is looming over him. With him being a Scot and with Alex Neil being a Scot and a new manager, is there a resurgence there? He's an experienced striker. He's someone who could come in and maybe lead that line under Alex Neil.
It's a great question, mate. I think it's one that Alex Neil will certainly want to explore. I get why they want to keep him for at least the rest of the season. I'd have met apprehensions around if they actually want to sign him at the end of it, because I don't think they could probably afford him. But I mean, ultimately, if someone said to me right now, would you rather have Nisbet or Bradshaw in the side? I probably would have Nisbet. So, I mean, I personally, I don't see why we wouldn't recall him. No other strikers scoring, are they?
No, I think that's probably going to be the what pushes the hand that he can get a goal. And when he was fit, and I was at Birmingham away when he hit that free kick, and he's on a little resurgence where he scored a few goals in a few consecutive games. He looked pretty good. When he was fit, he was actually all right. He obviously fell out with Harris when he came in. There was, lots of rumours that, he wasn't very pleasant at the end of season dinner and things like that. And his antics before the Swansea game were an issue. And I just think that, there's always that one player in every team that gets sent out on loan. It would have probably been a Marku this season, and that when new manager comes in and you think, give him another chance. Sometimes it works with a Marku slightly sad he's injured. Didn't work with Danny and Gesson. When Gesson was here, he had his chance several times. And
like that, didn't it, mate?
No, exactly. Had his chance several times, didn't fruition. But with our striker problems, and we'll talk about some attackers, with our striker problems, we do have one that can potentially get you a goal, that is experienced and could probably lead the line with these youngsters. I think it's kind of a no-brainer, although I don't think he has a future here. We don't know under Neil. We really don't know what we're going to get under Neil if players are going to have a future.
I mean, ultimately, right, I can't see anyone buying him. So you then get too older. If no one's going to come and give you money for him, then we might as well take him back and see if we can get something out of him. And it might be that we then don't like. It might be that he comes back for January, does nothing. Alex Neil doesn't like him in training, doesn't even get registered, and goes somewhere else. Who knows how these things work out? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, just a numbers game at this point, I suppose, as well, isn't it?
Exactly.
But we do need it. But all right, let's get into some players then, because like we said, January transfer window's open. I've selected some players that aren't going to be at the top of everyone's list. They're going to be in positions of need. They're probably, they're youngsters. They've got futures, because that's what the closed model is going to look at. So some people might look at my players and go, why would you look in that league? Or, that's a big step up, or look at the amount of games that they've played, etc., etc., etc. But we'll come to that in a minute. We've picked a couple defenders, some midfielders, some strikers, and probably one or two players that are out there. But we'll start with one of your players, Frank, and we'll start with the defenders and work our way up. And you select someone to look at as Derry Murkin of Schalke. Talk us a little bit about him. We do need defender.
So it's a bit of a left field option, and I've got to say, if anyone's ever watched any of his clips on YouTube or seen any of the games when he was at either Schalke or Volendam in Eredivisie, he's a top player. At the age of 4, he moved from Colchester to Holland, so technically got a British passport, but he's lived most of his life over in the Netherlands. And you can see that in his style of play, he's got like a really interesting. You can tell it's like a Dutch education, if that makes sense. Technically very proficient, but also got an English influence. It wouldn't surprise me if I think it was his dad that was from the UK. It wouldn't surprise me if he had a lot of English football in the background, because you can see that he's got that sort of like old school sort of English marauding fullback sort of style to him.
Yeah.
Primarily a left back by trade, but also played as a left winger. Obviously, Schalke, if anyone's watching his name, probably thinking Schalke are a decent side. Jesus, like, how are we going to get a player from there? Financially, they are absolutely mangled, and they're currently sitting in, like, I think, the 14th out of 18 teams in the in the League Two. So they are really struggling. So in terms of what he would cost, I've absolutely no idea, mate, because who knows when these clubs get into such financial difficulties. I think they're like 190 odd million pound in debt.
Wow.
And obviously they ain't got Premier League money coming in. So yeah, they're in a bit of trouble there. But about him particularly, he's a very aggressive ball carrier at a left back. So primarily he's offensively based. So defensively, a little bit of work to do. He could be a tad aggressive, and I think that might every now and then sort of, if he was in the Championships, see him out of position or commit into a bit of a rash challenge. All things you can coach. But what he has going forward is elite talent, really. Pace to just eat the ground up and get forward. You're going to cringe when I say this, but his final delivery isn't exactly perfect. That'll need a bit of work, but he's so much more dynamic than someone like Brian out there, and he's so much more willing to go and beat a man and try something that I think it's worth giving him a go. Stats-wise, he hasn't set the world alight this season, but again, taking into context, they're not a good side in that league. And he's involved a lot. I think if you was to compare him to any player in the Championship, just to give you a bit of a flavour of what he's like, I'd say it's probably like Alfie Doughty at Luton. Left back that really wants to get forward and is probably better on the other side of the pitch than he is defensively. But if we do want a left back, and if he's available for any form of cut price deal or for good value, that's where my money would be going.
No, yeah, and looks like you say, 17 appearances, only 3 yellow cards. He's got 3 assists in there, no goals, and you know, someone of a good age. You know, he'll be 26 when the season rolls back around. Someone that we should definitely take a look at. I've gone with another defender that's a bit closer to home, and I've gone with Max Cleworth, the Wrexham defender, that 22 years old. He's played primarily as a centre back, but as you can see, he can play as a right centre back. He can play as a left centre back. He's also played in defensive midfield when needed. 19 appearances. He's got some 5 goal involvements. Disciplined as well. Hasn't got any yellow cards, any red cards. And I just like the style of play. Wrexham are, you know, a lot of people have watched a lot of Wrexham, so he's not sort of shy of the limelight. He's been around a lot of attention around Wrexham. He's very durable, and he suits Millwall because his style of play, if you look at the way that Wrexham play, he's very aggressive. His main trait is his aggressive tackling. He's a very strong tackler. He's very, very good in the air. And he's just a rock. He primarily plays in a defensive 3 as well. So he's used to having to cover both inside and outside. He can get up and down. And he's just got a really good understanding of the game at 22 years old. And I think someone that Wrexham are playing really, really good football at the moment. And I just think that he's pretty much a younger but bigger Ryan Leonard, in my opinion. Someone who will get up and down, won't be afraid to put that strong tackle in. And at Millwall, we love someone who's going to put a strong tackle in. It gets you the fans on the seats as much as a goal does, you know.
What is he, 6'3"?
Yeah, 1.9 meters. Yeah, 6'3". I think 1.85 is 6'1", 6'2". So he's a big guy. You know, he's physically strong. He's quick. He gets up and down that right hand side. But the thing with us is where you ain't blessed with finances. You want to find these players that can play multiple positions, but play them really, really well. And if you look at the images that we're going to be putting on screen, not to tell people how to suck eggs, but the bigger circle is where they play primarily. The smaller circle is, they've played there a bit, and then smaller, and so on and so forth. He's played left side of the centre half just as much as he played right hand side of the centre backs. So he has got that versatility about him. He can cover both sides. And with Lenny getting on a little bit, Lenny's been great for us, but he's going to be in his coming up to his mid-30s at some point, 33, I think he might be when the next season rolls around. So you've got to look at a cover for Danny Mack, if Danny Mack may be the guy, or Max Cleworth could be the guy. So I'm thinking that Cleworth, with his age, with the amount of games that he's played, with the pressure of the cameras down at Wrexham, with how much they've been in the public eye, how well they've done in League Two, they're flying in League One as well. I just think he's someone who'd really, really suit the Den with his attributes of his being a strong tackler and being really, really good in the air. You could picture him with Tango as being a really good partnership. And if you do need him at some point, you want to change formation, you can, because he can step up into that holding role and you can change it and go to a 3 at the back. I think him, Cooper and Tango at the back could be a really good centre-back sort of trio, especially with him and Tango's ability to move about the field a little bit and step up and not get into trouble. We have got some other defenders as well that we was looking at, and you picked out one, and I'm going to try and get him up without revealing the others, but you did pick out another centre half. So we've gone with a right back and potentially a left back. Both can play left side and inside.
Yeah.
You've picked out another centre half who's primarily a centre half. His main position is centre back, right, left centre back. Wickham's Joe Lowe. Talk to us a bit about Joe Lowe.
Yeah, he's a name that anyone that's watched a bit of League One football this year is probably familiar with. Obviously, Wickham are flying in the league. 22 years old, recently capped by Wales, so full international now. Come through the Bristol City youth team and sort of struggled to find his feet and find a home, went quite a few loans, and he's now resettled at Wickham. Similar to the guy you just had, mate, is an absolute unit, 6'4", so proper Millwall centre back. He's young for that position, so obviously would still need time to develop. And I think, like both the names you just mentioned, maybe 6 months of coming in and playing behind Cooper, Jaff would give him that time to find their feet in the Championship and slowly adapt, rather than being chucked straight into the Lions' den, so to speak. So it'd be something that I'd be interested in now. I think you could probably get Joe Lowe for about the £1.2 million mark. So not massive for a player of that age. But what really stands out is a bit of a hybrid Joe Lowe. Obviously, Wickham play a lot of football on the ground, a lot of passing out from the back, which isn't something Millwall do, but it's probably the direction we're going to go in over time. So having a player that can do that whilst also being 6'4", absolute unit, proper centre back, is a nice transition for us and gives us a bit of both. Doing 4 goals already this season, so clearly a presence in each box. He's everything you'd look for in a modern centre back, really. If you watch him, he reminds me a lot of Dan Ballard. Obviously, when he was at Millwall, aggressive, tall, strong, wants to get the ball down, wants to look forward. He's an exciting player. He will be in the Championship in January. I think Swansea have already put a pre-January bid in that was knocked back. So he will be in Championship this season. I think we should be going all out and making sure it's at the den, mate.
Yeah, I agree. And I've watched a lot of Joe Lowe because I do the fantasy show, and Lowe is someone that, he's commanding. He's, he really understands the game as well. So, yeah, and I fully expect him to be a Championship player before Wickham or a Championship team, to be honest. And like you say, look, he's aggressive there, 4 yellow cards as well. So he likes to get stuck in. I like to see a yellow card on a player. But no, great pick. And another youngster. I've gone a little bit different with my last defensive player pick. And I've looked at someone who's pretty much got so much talent, hasn't really set it alight yet, but everything's there for him. And it's Bristol Rovers on loan from Aston Villa, Lino Sosa. He's only 19 years old. He can play anywhere across the back on the left-hand side, branching over to a right centre-back side. He could play left-back, primarily as a left back, but he could get up in left midfield as well and play left centre back. Hasn't played much this season. He's been out for a couple months with a hamstring injury, but he comes straight back into the side. He's got an assist already in 408 minutes. And he's just a really, really good talent. He plays for the England under-19 national side, so he would probably be a bit familiar with Romain Esse. And someone that I think is a massive position in need with us, where we want to get younger, we want to get talented. He's that, and he's just his attributes again speak out to me for someone that we need. He loves to push forward when it presents itself. He's disciplined in that. He's been said to have a much older brain, where you get these younger players, that these fullbacks that push forward at the wrong times, push forward at times that they shouldn't, or miscalculate it. He's been said to be very, very good at timing his runs, very good at knowing when to push, when not to push. He's very, very composed in possession. He can hold on to the ball. He doesn't get flustered too often. And his defensive responsibilities, again, just like Max Cluworth, loves to get stuck into a tackle, doesn't shy away from it, really gets his feet stuck in there. Likes to go up against the big body centre-backs, big body striker, and put himself about for only a 19-year-old kid. So you can probably pick him up. The transfer value has him at around the 1.5 mark. He is on loan from Villa, so that might rise, pending performances. Yeah. But this is someone that is playing in League One at the moment, can quite easily make that jump to the Championship without looking at the body of work, the amount of games he's played, his attributes, his potential, his style of play just fit Millwall at a position of need, and can play centre-back, can play left-back, can play left midfield. These are positions that we need, and you need utility there. You can't go and buy, or for us anyway, as we said, Frank, you can't just go, we need a left midfielder, go get a left midfielder. We need a left-back, go and get a left-back. We need to look at players that can cover multiple positions. And I think we've got that in someone like Esse, we've got that in Poku, we have that in Honeyman at the moment that does that quite a lot. Ryan Leonard does it quite a lot. So we need to utilise players that have a lot of utility about them, because we ain't got them finances. But yeah, Liam Sosa is someone that I think we should take a little punt on if he's going to be available. If he
would you want him on loan, mate, or permanent? Sorry,
I would look at possibly making the step up to take him on loan. I think with someone like Cluworth and the players that you've mentioned, I'd look at signing them permanently.
Yeah.
Someone like Sosa, who's still a bit raw, still a bit young, take a shot on them as a depth piece behind Brian, behind Danny Mack, see what they've got. Pretty much like Scanlon. I know Scanlon might be coming back, but they're very similar players. And, I'd even look at Scanlon and put Scanlon in that same conversation, let him audition himself and see what he's about, see if Liverpool will move him on. Liverpool have got the finances, the pedigree, and the performances and what have you to go and better Scanlon. So if he can come back and prove himself, that might be that position wrapped up. You don't know. But yeah, Sosa's someone who fits into that Scanlon category for sure, and someone that's playing games. So, I wouldn't mind.
This is a name I hadn't heard, mate. This is an interesting one, because I haven't seen any of Sosa this season. So
he's a really good player. Bristol Rovers, they're not the best team in League One, but they're definitely not the worst team in League One. Yeah. They like to get after it. And his style is what stands out for me is he's not irrational. He's not a typical young left back who, gets himself sent off, gets himself into bad positions and makes bad mistakes. His main attribute is how good he is at making decisions. And that's what I love about a youngster, that it's not their talent that lets them down after time with youngsters. It's their decision making. It's they've pushed at the wrong time, they've made the wrong cross, or they've made a bad tackle. His is the complete opposite. Yeah. Exactly that. His is the complete opposite. He knows when to push, he knows when to make the tackles, and he's got a really, really good head on him. So yeah, someone that I think would be a really, really good investment, someone that would fill a position of need, and someone we can utilise. And England under-19 international as well. Romain might be able to put a little call in, have a little chat with him from the elite squad. But yes, I like him as an investment. Maybe not someone that would come in and do anything now, but someone we should probably look at for the way that the club want to run things, to be honest with you.
Sounds good.
So we're pretty much done with defenders now.
Yep.
They're our defenders that we want to look at. We're going to look at some midfielders now, and I'm just trying to go through who we're going to look at first because I can't quite find your midfielders. But okay, well, we'll move on to one midfielder that I picked up, and this is the luxury signing that I want. This is the number one signing that I want this window, and that is, where is he? Kwame Poku. There we go. I got there in the end. Kwame Poku of Peterborough. I love this kid. I've been following him for a long time now. With the fantasy, I pick him regularly. He was the best performing midfielder in fantasy this season. He just got injured. He's out for a couple more months, but he's also out of contract. Peterborough have turned down multiple bids in excess of £3 million for him, but he is worth every single penny. If you look, he's 23 years old. You look at the positions there, 3 massive positions of need. He can play on the right, can play on the left, can play on the cam. In 17 appearances this season, he's got 15 goal involvements. And that's ridiculous. It's just ridiculous.
What did he get last season? 17?
Yes.
So he's done that in 17 games.
Exactly. He's done that all, you know, he's just a fantastic player. And Peterborough are a free-flowing, scoring side. They like to attack. They like to get after it. And he's at the forefront of that. And he's their biggest piece for Peterborough. He's someone that a lot of teams are going to be really, really interested in. A lot of teams have already been poking around. Like I say, they've rejected bids for him already. And with his injury and him being out of contract, you might be quite shrewd to get a deal done for him now. I would still pay money for him. I would still pay money for him now, even with the injury.
They've turned down bids, but that'd be funny if he was to go back on, maybe even late in January. The panic then of you've got a week to shift this guy who goes for nothing. They might revisit that 3 million, and that might be enough. Maybe, who knows?
I think it would be, especially the fact that he's injured. The fact that he's injured, I think it would be enough. But you know, Blackburn have been sniffing around him. There's a few bigger clubs in the Championship that, you know, I've been sniffing around him, and we should be one of them because we might lose SA. We do need this similar type of player to complement Aziz if he goes. We need to have an extra player behind or with Marku, you know, because Watmore's out of contracts as well. So this is a massive position of need for me, is the winger position and the cam. And I look primarily that he played on the right wing as opposed to the left, because Duncan Watmore plays on the left, Aziz plays on the left, Adamaya plays on the left. It's only really SA that we've been utilising as that right winger. So for his main position to be that right wing, I think that he's a carbon copy replacement for SA if he does leave. He's still only 23 years old. He'll only just turn 24 when the season starts. Prime age for him. So he still won't have hit peak yet for his position. So, yeah, I really like Kwame Poku. This is the big pick for me. This is the one that I really do want to get over the line if we can. It has been rumoured as well that we were looking at him. We were looking at Poku. And I think if we are going to go after him, just do it in January. Don't wait for him to go out of contracts. Don't wait for other teams to compete, because other teams are going to be able to pay more money. We won't compete. So yeah, this is probably the big one for me that I would want to get done. If I was going to make 2 signings out of my picks at the moment, I would look at Clueworth and Poku as being my 2 from my list, because I think that they're the 2 main positions. And I think a centre back and a cam are probably where we need to look. And I think you can move SA into the cam and stick Poku out on wide. If you could have Aziz, SA and Poku as our front 3 behind a striker, I mean, if we then can't create and score goals, then then it's a striker issue. Then it's a striker issue. I still think we need some central midfielders because I think the transition is our biggest problem when it comes to creating. But Poku for me is the creme of my transfer window. That is someone that I really, really, really want here, and I don't care about the injury, and that him being out of contract will only help us. He's been a solid player for them. So really, really, really want Kwame Poku.
Funny enough, mate, when I was looking at another player that we'll mention a bit later on, in one of the highlights package I was watching, he got an assist for the opposition. He sort of dropped the shoulder on the right hand side. And he whipped this boy, mate, to a far post. It was impossible to defend. You're thinking, fucking hell, what a ball that is! Like
he is ridiculous.
Spot on. Beat his man V's and just first time delivery, but have that in the area. I could watch it every week, mate. Quality player.
Yeah, no, really, really, really good, really, really good player. And them type of balls that you just mentioned, we don't see them. Don't ever see them. If we do, they don't beat the first man. But there's another midfielder that you really like. I've selected him a few times in fantasy. Really, really like him. When I have selected him, he has come up trumps. That's Theo Asgaard, the Wigan attacking midfielder. Talk to me about him.
Yeah, he's a very interesting player, I think, for the type of player he is. So, 22-year-old Norwegian, come from the Liverpool Academy, but played the vast majority of his career at Wigan. I think what really stands out about him at 22 years old is played 158 league games in English football, which is insane for a player of that age. If there's any Millwall fans out there, I recognise that name. He did score against us a couple of years ago when Wigan beat us 2-1 and started to derail our playoff chances. So we wouldn't hold that against him so much. But yeah, this season, 8 goals and 2 assists in all competitions. Not bad attacking midfield at all. Again, similar to some of the players mentioned, Wigan aren't the best side in the world. So to get that whilst doing a bottom half side is impressive. The only downside, I think, to Theo is he's just signed a new contract to 2028. So I think Bristol City put in a bid for around 3 million and they got knocked back. It might have been Stoke, in fact, I can't remember. But you are looking at around the 3 million mark, if not even more, 3.5. But if you're serious about replacing Fleming, this is probably the guy to do it. He's not the same player as Fleming. What the biggest similarity between the two is they're both massive. So 6'2" for a cam is an absolute unit. You just don't see players of that size have the feet and technical ability this guy's got. He's happy to receive the ball into his feet, into his chest, hold off a centre midfielder and turn someone. We haven't got anyone in the squad at the minute, really, in the middle that can beat a man and drive with the ball. And this is what he does in spades. Great ball striking, can hit a ball from anywhere. Pace, great range passing, and technically his feet are just elite for that league. He's the type of player that we've been crying out for years, and we've never had one. I think there'd be a bit of an adjustment period at then, because I don't think we'll maybe take him straight away and we'll be like a Paul Eiffel sort of type. It might take a little bit of time. But he has star quality and the ability to win a football match by himself. So similar for you with Poku, I think if I could sit there and say there's one player I want, I think it probably would be this guy. Just go and get him, because I think he really would try to have the biggest impact on our side. If I was to think of a comparison, I really struggle with this because he has got such a unique profile for that sort of position. But the best comparison is probably like someone like Jack Redoni, obviously at Coventry. But other than that, I mean, I don't think watch much Premier League, but he's almost like a bit of a poor man's Kulusevski over at Spurs. He has all that technical ability whilst being physically proficient enough to actually cope at this level. He's an exciting player. Again, he's another one that it wouldn't shock me if by the end of the January window he's playing in the Championship. And he'll probably go somewhere else. We'll be looking at him going, why aren't we in for him? Oh, we should be now.
Yeah, and I think Cam is, like we've said, centre-back and Cam is probably the biggest needs in this team. We do not have a Cam. The one Cam that we have that's capable of playing Cam plays on the right wing. And we don't have anyone to replace him on the right wing. So, yeah, it's a huge... I would be...
You don't think Honeyman's a Cam?
Happy. No, well, I mean, I would be I'd be more than happy with Asgaard and or Poku. I mean, like you say there, look, 22 appearances, he's got 8 goal involvements. He's big, he's physical, he's strong. He's very much like you said. You said struggle to find a comparison. Zian Fleming, is that that comparison?
The difference is, I think he's actually technically on the ball. I think he's better.
Yeah.
Wouldn't have this goal threat, not quite as good, but technically, the ability to turn, pass the ball. I think he's
someone who can create.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. No, Fleming was more of that goal scorer would hit the box, whereas Asgaard will filter on the outside and look for a pass before he looks for the shot, which is probably the opposite to Fleming. But no, I've picked Asgaard a few weeks in a row, actually, a few weeks back for the fantasy side, and he come up trumps all the time. Watched him score an assist in a couple games back. Had a really, really good performance, and another one that you look like with the Poku pick, with the Asgaard, who's on the screen now, so I was trying to think of for some reason. If they weren't in the sides that they're in, them teams would really, really struggle without their outlet, without their performances. They're two that them teams probably can't afford to lose. Peterborough at the moment are falling victim to that, and Asgaard would be the same. I think your Clueworths and your other ones you might get away with, but these are definitely two players that you can't live without. I think any team can't live without their cam or their main attacking player.
We've seen that this year, haven't we? We've seen that big time now. Play out.
Suffering with it. So, they're two players that 100% want to look at. Before we move on to our two striker picks, I have a midfielder that I picked out because I do think that central midfield is a low-key position of need. Now, we spoke about centre-backs, left-backs and cams as being our primarily main need and wingers. But centre midfield, I put a tweet out last night. I think central midfield is probably the one issue that isn't an issue in terms of numbers, but it is an issue in terms of transitional play. I think we have too much of the same player in centre midfield 100%. As they're all being ball winners, and not one of them can get the ball, carry it forward, look to pick a pass. Kasper can sometimes pick a pass, but it's not his job. I think we've been blindsided by the fact that we think he may be that player, and he just isn't. He's a deep line ball winning midfielder. They're very much the same as Jules Saville. One player I did look at, and this is going to be a little bit out there, and this is Ethan Archer, and I've picked him again a lot in fantasy. And for Cheltenham, he is a star-studded performer for Cheltenham Town. He is excellent. And at 22 years old, again, really, really good height. They say his main position is attacking midfield. But if you just have a look at that graphic, there is not many players I've seen that can play the amount of positions that he can play and play them so effectively. He's played in the left midfield. He's played in the cam, his two main primary mid positions. But then he could play left wing. Then he could play right wing. He could play central midfielder in the deep role. Then he could play defensive midfield as well. You look at his stats for this season in 26 games, including the FA Cup and League Two. He's got himself 10 goal involvements. He's very, very versatile. He's probably the most versatile midfielder I've seen for a very, very long time. And if you look at his age, at 22 years old, to be thrown about as much as he has in those positions and to still be as effective and still deliver the level of performance that he has for Cheltenham, and they've turned it right around. Cheltenham are playing some really, really good football. They're getting some wins. He gets goals. He gets assists. He's just brilliant. And I don't think the step up would be too big for someone like that, for someone who's played that amount, played them amount of positions, played them well, in a team that really did struggle at the start with their new manager. I interviewed a Cheltenham guy on the fantasy show to talk about Cheltenham as a whole, and we spoke about Ethan Archer, and someone to be so young and play in so many positions and play it so effectively, I don't think the jump up would be that big for him. It's just them positions he's played. You're talking 6 positions he can play and play effective.
I'm just looking at it a bit now because, I mean, again, I'm going to be completely honest with you, it's a player I'm not familiar with, but signed for Cheltenham beginning of the season as a free transfer. Before that, Torquay, Three Bridges, Rains Park, Bedfront Sports. He's obviously not gone through the traditional route. No. But sometimes these players, I mean, people develop at different rates, right? And it wouldn't be the first player we've seen it sort of explode and come out of nowhere, have a real impact in the Championship. Luton seems to be excellent at finding these sort of players a couple of years ago.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Agree.
And there's great value in them, mate. And how much will this guy cost, you reckon?
Oh, exactly. Yeah, next to nothing. And I'm not saying that he would come in and push Saville out, push Casper out, even Kelly. I really like the look of Kelly, Scottish central midfielder. That Alex Neil, if you look at the Scottish thing, Kelly's probably got a bigger role to play. But someone that can come in as a real good youth prospect who could play so many positions that can give us so much technical difference if we need to change it up.
Yeah.
If we need to change it up in game, more importantly, if you want to change formation, you could change formation 4 or 5 times with Ethan Archer playing in that team and get solid performance out of him because he's done it so well. Someone that, again, not going to light the world on fire, not going to come in and be that game changer for us, but someone that we should be looking at for investment, that can play multiple positions, that we do need at this club that we spoke about with all the other players that can play multiple positions. That's what you need in a team with little finances. He's someone that definitely you should look at because his game graphic there of positions played, you just don't see it. You just do not see it. And to play as much as he has and be as effective as he has at a non-conventional, non-traditional route to get to where he's at now, at the age he's at as well, he's still going to be 22 when the season rolls around next season. So, someone who's probably battle-tested, very battle-tested, someone that has had to understand attack and the defensive side of the game, which is such a plus in players that if you can understand both sides of the game, you'll get on well in most places. A team that is transitionally, we like to break really quick on attack and then we have to defend a lot of Millwall. You need them type of players. So someone I'm really interested in as a bit of a wild card for a central midfield pick. There's obviously other players that are going to be better that you can probably get within our price range, but someone I think we should take a look at for that utility look. Strikers now. We've both picked out a striker each. You did pick out one that was on loan that I haven't edited out because it's not going to happen. There's talk they rejected a £15 million bid already, but it was nice. But there is 2 that I think will really interest fans. And you've picked out a great one here. And Richard Kanu. Go for him. Talk from Richard Kanu. The second Wickham player you've picked.
He's the second Wickham player I've picked. So any Wickham fans watching, if we do get both, I deeply apologise. 21-year-old centre forward, 12 goals this season, 22 appearances, and not all appearances have been from the start. He joined Wickham in January, I believe, last year from Newham. So a fairly localist boy, so from this neck of the woods at least. He's similar to Archie you just mentioned. He's very raw, and would definitely need a bit of refinement. He's come through a non-traditional background into Football League, obviously coming from a non-league route and going from that level to League One is a massive, massive step. And I think any Millwall fans listening is probably sitting there thinking, it just sounds like Langstaff again. You're asking someone to keep jumping. The difference between him and Langstaff is he's physically so much more capable, so much stronger, that I think he could come in day one and be at least competitive. You need to work on him. There's a lot of work on his game that you need to take, but there is potentially huge upside. If we talk about people going down non-traditional routes, at one point this kid was homeless and had a particularly difficult start to.
I read that.
Particularly difficult start to his journey, and the character that it would have taken him to get to this point alone already would be incredible. So I'm sure that would put him in good stead for further steps up. He's gone through bigger challenges than League One to Championship already in life. So, I think it would cost a bit of money. I think you'd be looking at around a £2 million mark now. 21-year-old, that many goals, you got to pay a bit of cash in you.
He's probably going to be a Championship player with Wickham as well, so that will play into it.
Yeah, exactly. In his bit of refinement, but his all-round game is probably not his strong point at the minute. He needs to improve some of that hold that plays, interchanging, but it is there in patches. It's just a consistency element that he needs to work on. But what he has, you can't coach a player. You can't coach someone being a 6-foot centre forward that can pin a centre back, turn them, just bully people. You can't coach that. You can't coach speed. You can't coach that sort of thing. So capable of scoring all kinds of goals and being a real vocal point and presence up top. Just I think when you watch him, it's just a nightmare to play against. Like, imagine it's awful for a centre back to watch him coming out. Statistically, in his own box and aerially, he really stands out at that level. So all the trappings of what would make a proper Millwall centre forward. Again, a player I really struggled for a comparison with. I thought about players like Ivan Toney when he was at Scunthorpe. I thought about people like a little bit like Tom Elliott with ability. And then the best comparison I could think of being from Ivory Coast was a 21-year-old League One Didier Drogba. The bloke is an absolute incredible talent. And again, is another one we've said this a few players now. He will be playing Championship football.
Yeah.
So spend the money now while he's relatively cheap, rather than waiting until someone else gets him. We'll see him in a Swansea cert next year and they sell him for 7-8 million to Leeds or someone. Go and get him now.
Yeah, no, agree. Like you say, 22 appearances, 12 goals. Wickham flying, and he's a really good at being an impact player as well. Not all of his goals, like you said, have come from him starting. He can come off and really impact the game, and he's battle tested. I love that. I really love that term. It's one of my favourite terms in football. If you're battle tested, if you've gone through some really, really hard times, when the good times come, you appreciate it and you work hard for them good times. And he's someone that has definitely done that. And yeah, someone who's going to have really good career. And why can't it be here? I've gone with a different route, a completely different route to your striker pick. And I've gone with Emil Riis. He's 26 years old, so he's not young, but he's experienced. From Denmark, he was bought in 2020 from Denmark to Preston by Alex Neil. Big centre forward, really big and physical. Likes to get on the ball, likes to dribble, likes to be physical. He's not really good at holding the ball up. He's not a great passer, but that's because he's a big guy. He's more better at getting into the box with his dribbling. He's primarily a proper centre forward, and we need a target man. He's got in the Championship, 24 appearances, 7 goals, 2 assists. He's someone that I think we need. He's out of contract at the end of the season as well. Someone that it's going a little bit sour from what I've been reading. It's almost like he doesn't want to renew at Preston, and Alex Neil will probably capitalise on that. He will be probably looking at players he's coached before or he knows, and if you can get this guy on a free, you have to take the punt on him. You have to, by Preston standards, they spent a bit of money by their standards to get him. I say, look at his height; he's massive. He'll be 27 when the season rolls around. I could just picture him with Langstaff, just being like Langstaff's ability to get around him, or even Ivanovic, just to get around him while he can be that focal point, that target man that we desperately need. Experience in this division as well. I think, a lot of the players we've looked at are really good prospects, but there's a couple that we've picked out there, like you picked out Derry Murkin, who's, played a lot of football, and I picked out Kwame Poku, again, a lot of experience, played a lot of games. I think that Emil Riis would be a nice balance to some of them players that we've spoke about that are a bit younger, like your Ethan Archers, like your Asgards and players like that. So, yeah, I really do like this for my striker pick. This is someone that I think we should go after in probably the summer. I don't think we'll go after him in January. I don't think that a Championship team at the same sort of point of the season, at the same sort of position in the league as us, is going to sell him to us.
You never know, mate, with the contract situation.
You don't know.
Look at us with Shannon, Forest, like we was clearly tempted.
100%. I do think that is there, but I think while it's out with that, there is a little bit of a rumbling that he probably doesn't want to stay around, and Alex Neil's now in a job at a club that I think he would like to come and play for. I think that Alex Neil would probably be in his ear. And I'd like to go and get him definitely in the summer if we can't get him in January, but we should be looking at this type of player. This is probably the type of striker we need to look at. I don't think we need to look at any more prospects in the attacking areas. We've got one now, and we've got one who's played a lot of football, who's a little bit older, but still needs to refine his game in the Championship. We need to now go and get a proven Championship target man to bring balance to the force, if you will, for Star Wars terms. And I think Emil Riis could do that. Like I say, big target man, played under Alex Neil before, had some success, playing well this season. Preston are playing good under Heckingbottom. You know, they had a terrible result at the weekend, but they have been playing, you know, somewhat better football. He's aggressive, really aggressive, likes to get stuck in. He'd get the crowd on board. He's someone who reminds me a little bit like a Steve Morrison. Steve Morrison, I don't think was the greatest dribbler in the world, the greatest hold-up man in the world. I don't think he was really that great at bringing others into the game, Steve Morrison. I thought for a big man, Morrison was pretty good at actually getting the ball down and getting beyond players. I thought he was really good at that. That was probably the better aspect of his game that caught teams off guard, and he could hit them from anywhere, Morrison. And he did that at Millwall a hell of a lot, and he was good playing with a Lee Gregory. And I think Emil Riis is probably that best comparison to him. He's that big, he's that physical, he's good on the ball, good feet. You mentioned about Asgaard not being your typical Cam, being that big guy who's good on the ball. Emil Riis is the exact same as a striker. You expect him to be great at hold-up play, but he's not. His main attribute is being someone who can get on the ball, get around players and likes to dribble. And with our style of play, you know, we probably are going towards that a little bit more. We're going away from the long ball with Alex Neil. We like to be a little bit more direct, a little bit more on the ground. And I think Emil Riis would suit that. And if you can get him on a free, you keep some money in the kitty as well.
Not funny. Alex Neil will know exactly what he's getting, wouldn't he? So
yeah,
I was just looking at some of his past seasons in 21-22. So we are going back 4 years now. Don't get me wrong, but when Alex Neil was in charge, in all competitions, he got 26 goal involvements. That's insane.
Mental. Yeah,
that's insane.
Absolutely mental.
20 Lemby goals, obviously 6 assists, and I didn't know this about him. He played a little bit on right wing that season. Obviously, he was 22.
Oh, I didn't actually know that about him either.
22, so a bit younger, and maybe he's lost the yard since then.
Probably. I'd say he'd be 27 when the season rolls around.
Which in these days, you're at 27. You're approaching your peak years in theory, aren't you?
Probably as a centre forward, I would say so. Yeah, definitely.
27 to 31 probably peak now. Players will seem much more phically capable.
Yeah, with sports science and stuff around now. Yeah, you pushed that out a couple of years, didn't you?
Yeah, I think it's a great shout, mate. And there's a deal to be done there. I just read apparently Sheffield United are looking at him. Someone that Chris Wilder looked at before, so obviously appreciated at its level. But if Alex Neil gave him his best years in football. So if that could be the deciding factor, we should definitely lean on that if we can.
Yeah, and I don't think he would. I'd like to think that he would not just look at Sheffield United as a team that's going to play in the Prem, because I don't think he's going to be that main guy for them in the Prem.
If we're honest, they'll get us another centre forward in, and he'll probably go on loan to Millwall.
Yeah, exactly. No, exactly, mate. So I don't think he's going to be. I hope he wouldn't be tempted. I like to think that Alex Neil would, have a good conversation with him, or that conversation would go down well to the point where he knows he'd get games here. And, I would look to him to be that main focal point if we want to play a 4-4-2. Definitely get him in, because he fits the bill. He suits what we want to do, clearly, because, the best predictor of future behaviour is past behaviour. In an Alex Neil system, as you rightly said, he was lethal. He was absolutely lethal. There's no reason why he wouldn't do that again. And like you said, the key thing there is his best years in football came in an Alex Neil side. So get him in on a free if you can't get him in January. And you've got a ready-made, experienced player who's used to the system, who can play the style that we want to play. And more importantly, he's a massive, massive position of need, because I think up front now, we need to get a little bit of experience. But we need to get a bit of experience with goals.
His experience is what Kanu doesn't bring.
And I think I would love Kone now if we didn't have Ivanovic in. I think, the jury might be out on Ivanovic, but he's here now. I think if we was to get a Kone in, I still think he's going to be a good player. I think you've got all the attributes there. But I think, if we was to bring another Kone in, we've got no one around him to help him. I think while you've got Langstaff and Ivanovic, if you could bring in someone like Riis, I think that would probably you got this one guy who's from Serbia, this one guy who's from England, and then you've got someone from Denmark. He's kind of bridging the gap between the two. You know, you got Eastern and Western European. You got someone right in the middle there who speaks really good English, who can set the balance. He's played in this league, bit of experience. So I think he would be a really, really good link for the two. A bit like Coburn is, but he's a bit more physical than Coburn. If Coburn can stay fit, I'd probably like to take a punt on Coburn. I think that ship might have sailed with how much of glass he's made of. But yeah, Emil Riis is definitely someone I think, not just that I want to look at, but I think Neil will want to look at. We've got to be realistic at what Neil's probably going to want, because there's no way he come into this job without already looking at the squad, right? So he applied for the job. When you apply for a job, or we are definitely led to believe you apply for the job. If people think otherwise, I think otherwise, but we've pretty much been led to believe he has. If you apply for the job, then you would have looked at the squad, right? Livermore come out and said he hadn't spoken to Alex Neil, but Alex Neil come out and said he spoke to Livers a couple of times. He was then in the stands at Coventry, and leading up to that, the rumours before Christmas that it was going to be Alex Neil, he would have been looking at this squad for the last couple of weeks 100%. Before he took the job. He would know what he needs.
He wouldn't have applied without having a serious bit of research. I'm really funny. Every single game we've played this season is on Sky Sports now. Yeah, wouldn't be that hard to do research, would it? Do you know what I mean?
100%. So he would have done, but he would have also, more importantly, not took the job without having some assurances that we were looking at X, Y, and Z. He would have probably been even presented with some players that we're looking at for him to turn around and say, yeah, that player will fit my system, or, yeah, I approve, that will work for me, etc., etc., etc. Because Gallon released that interview that me and you covered about potentially looking at one or two, and news then released that we are definitely looking at a Cam. So I imagine he would have been presented with a short list of players that we're probably looking at, and he would have done the same. And I think we need to get some players in January. Out of this list that we've gone through, mate, to wrap it up, if there's two that you want to pick, because I think two is probably going to be where we end up. I want three. If there's two that you really, really want in, who is it? And then give me the third. If we did get three, who's the third that you want? But give me two that you think we need to sign right now from your list.
Yeah, do you know what's really interesting, mate? I'm just looking through, and we only picked one player that's not 6 foot plus, and that's Poku.
I made a big point of that.
We didn't plan that at all, but we've obviously sat there. The fact that but in terms of we need to discuss it together.
Oh, together, yeah, of course, yeah.
We've clearly looked at the side and gone, we're so deficient in a bit of pace, power.
Oh, mate, pace, power, and strength. It's been
it's just an interesting observation, mate. But
that is the fact, because that was the big focal point for me. Was I wanted big, aggressive players who know their role and who ain't afraid to put it about. And like you just said, we hadn't spoke about that. But that is something that we definitely need, and you've done exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
So Neil must see it if us casuals can, surely.
I fucking hope so. But if I had to give you two names, I would go Derry John Murkin. I think left back is a major concern for me at the minute. And as you said about people that could play multiple positions, he could play left wing if you had to. I think he's an electric player out there. And the other one would be Theo, Asgaard. I think the attack midfield is probably our biggest point of need right now, assuming Tanganga and SA don't leave. They'd be my two. If I had to give you a third, I probably would then go Kanu because of his potential. But he might be someone I'd look at and say, get Kanu now, and maybe even send him back out on loan to Wycombe finish the season there.
Just trying to find where you're going at, yeah.
But yeah, he'd be my third. The other two are far and away the two that I'd want out of the ones I listed. I would be as well, to be honest with you.
I agree, mate. The two I'll go with, and one of them would probably be one of yours, is I really like Joe Lowe. I really think he's going to. We do need that desperation at centre half. I think we're going to be all right. That when Scanlon comes back, I think Danny Mack will be back, and then Cooper will come back. But I do think we need a centre half. But so I really like that as a centre half pick. But if I was going to pick proper two that I'd want from my list, I'd pick Clueworth. I I really like Clueworth. He can play left centre back, right centre back. He can play in defensive midfield. He gives us that utility. I think he's someone who's going to be quite sought after. He fits the system. He fits what we want to do. He's played a lot. He's got some goal involvements. Just get that move done now because he can play in the left. He can play on the right. So, yeah, get him in. The other player I really, really want is obviously Poku. As we've both gone through that.
Quality.
They're the two that I want. Definitely want. We do really need a proper natural left back and a proper cam. I know we haven't gone with a proper left back that's traditionally been experienced enough. We've gone with a little bit of a hybrid or maybe a youth, but I just think that we need major reinforcements in the cam, major reinforcements, hybrid centre backs, because we need cover at both. We're not going to get both a centre back, both a left back. So I think we need someone that can play both positions or at least utilise it there, like we do with Danny Mack.
Like Wallace used to do a couple of years ago.
Or like Murray Wallace used to. And I don't actually think Murray Wallace has been that bad. I don't even think Wallace has been that bad since he's come in. I don't think conceding goals is our problem. You know, I know we miss it. Cooper is allegedly on grass now, so Cooper will be back. So I really don't think we've got a major issue at that position anymore, or that we will have, because we're not getting pumped. We are not conceding a lot of goals. It is the other end of the field. But if there's one, obviously, a third player that I really think could solve a lot of our problems, it'd be this guy. And that is the guy that I would think we should take a punt on at centre forward. So to recap from back to front, we've gone with Frankie's gone with Asgaard, the attacking midfielder. I went with Lena Sosa, the on loan left hybrid player who's on loan at Bristol Rovers as a prospect. Ethan Archer, the Cheltenham Town midfielder who can play everywhere. Frankie went with Richard Kone, the exciting 21-year-old centre forward who's been a bit battle tested at Wycombe, and also Joe Lowe, the centre half at Wycombe at 22 years old, the 22-year-old centre back. I went with Max Clueworth of Wycombe, the utility man at the back there who can also play central defensive midfield. Derry Murkin, who Frankie picked at Schalke, who could play left back, left wing, left midfield. Emil Riis, who I went with, we spoke about, the centre forward who's going to be out of contract at Preston, and the big hitter Kwame Poku at Peterborough. I quite like them players, mate. I think if you can get 3 of them in, I think that will help us do what we want to do. That'll help Neil achieve what we want to achieve this season, no?
Yeah, 100%, mate. I think, and Joel, without recapping what we spoke about last night in the Spaces, I think you can look at our side and we have got a fairly big squad in some areas, like centre mid, for example, and centre back, but we do lack quality. And if we can maybe add 2 or 3 of them names that can change the dynamic of the squad and give you something different, I think we could see a very different team quite quickly. Whilst this is going to take a long time to rebuild this squad and to get where it needs to be, you could definitely start moving in the right direction this January, mate.
Yeah, 100%. We spoke about some players that might come in. Do you think any go out this month? I mean, we've got a couple of players that are coming back from injuries now. You've got Adam Mayer, people like that. Kelly will probably be back soon. Alfie Massey. Do we do anything in terms of people going out, even potential sales? What are your thoughts on that?
I think we will see a couple. I think if you look at people like Wintle, I think that was very much a Neil Harris signing type profile of player. And I'm not sure what he brings that the players we have don't. So with Mitchell coming back now, I'm not sure what sort of role he feels in the squad. Obviously, who knows what's going on with Scanlon? So that could be another potential loan spot freed up if he does go out. Does go back to Liverpool. Sorry. Obviously, the 2 names that we really don't want to see leave are SA and Tanganga. Personally, if I was putting money on it right now, I think they'll both be here by the end of January. But who knows? Other than that, I think the one of the bigger concerns that we've had this conversation multiple times, Jay, is we've got quite a lot of deadwood in that side and players that are just a bit old, past their peak. We're going to struggle to shift them. The good news is, I guess, a lot of them approaching the end of their contracts. But if someone like a Wrexham does come allegedly were in for a Bradshaw before. If they come back in, I think I'd let Bradshaw go and people like that. So I think there will be exits. I think there has to be. And that's not a problem. For a couple, there's a lot of players we could lose, mate. We've gone, oh well, we wouldn't be that fast.
No, I agree. I would have said that probably someone like Adam Mayer would go out on loan, but with the injury to Imarku now, I don't think he goes anywhere. He's made the bench a couple of times. I think, Saville needs a rest. I think Billy Mitchell will come into the side. When Kelly comes back, I think Kelly needs to. It's horrible because you think if he didn't have his injury, it'd be good for Alex Neil to assess him to either give him some game time or get him out on loan, but he's going to be sort of stuck in limbo. He's a Scot. I think Alex Neil would, has probably seen him a lot more than what we have in being a Scot. So I think he might have a little bit better understanding of him, which is a plus while he's out injured. Probably doesn't have to watch him a hell of a lot as he would have to have done if he hadn't. Massey might, but then again, look, like I say, like you just said, we've got so much dead wood, but we can't let players go without bringing players in because we are going to get short. Bradshaw would be someone that I would let go if we could bring another striker in. But as we've seen, with Coburn being out, it would just fall on Ivanovic and Langstaff. And Bradshaw, he did come on yesterday, did run about, did show a little bit of movement. I don't think he's going to get us any goals anymore, but you need some experience to go through some tough times. And he has done that with us, Bradshaw. And obviously at centre-back, what happens with Harding and players like that?
Yeah, there's a couple of sort of he's been completely ostracized from the squad. And very strange. There's a couple of players. I think you probably could lose 5 players this window, replace them with 3, and not notice it depth wise. Like if Coburn and Bradshaw left and you replace them with 1 centre forward that's fit and available, you're almost like for like.
Agree.
Centre back, if Harding or Wallace was to go, when you got in another centre back that could play every week, you wouldn't notice the difference. So we probably can afford to trim the squad a little bit, but there's a fine line there.
No, absolutely. I expect there to be movement. I mean, a lot of directors of football, they're not going to show their hand. I didn't expect Scallon to come out and go, we're going to make 4 signings. We've got this player, we're looking at that player, looking at, if I was a director of football, I'd be quite reserved. I'd probably tease everyone a little bit. I wouldn't say we're not going to do any business. I'd probably say, probably looking at 1 or 2, exactly what he said. I'd probably say that.
Yeah, and this is the thing. He obviously made that comment about looking at 2 people, and I haven't got any inside knowledge to say he's lying or not telling the truth, but we often see people in these positions, their job is to manage expectation, and they would rather undercommit and then over-deliver, whereas managers want to say 3, 4, 5 and push the expectation higher and sort of put pressure on. So I wouldn't read too much into them comments, to be honest. I think if the players are out there for the right price, I think the money will be made available.
Yeah, and look, you haven't got to, in nowadays in football, mate, you haven't got to spend the money that you haven't got at the moment because it's all done in instalments now. Exactly. We're expecting money in instalments. You haven't got to have the money to spend it. You can just have it, on a IOU because we're getting it. We haven't got to spend the money. There's a lot of loans out there. You can view a lot of these youngsters as well in these lower leagues. You can view to loan them. Loans of you view to buy, even not just Premier League players. You do it with the younger leagues. We did it with Captain Styles. We had him on a loan with a view to buy. So there is players that on our list that you could loan them in, see what they like, and be a bit shrewd there and do that sort of business. I expect us to make some loan signings, especially if Wintle goes back. Wintle wouldn't be going back if we didn't have another plan at that position, because Kelly's injured, is inexperienced, Mass is inexperienced.
Mitchell's obviously back in, but
Mitchell's obviously come back from a long-term injury, so I don't think that report would be coming out if we didn't have something that we was going to do there. So, fully expect movement, and now the window's open. So, mate, I think we've pretty much covered that. For anyone watching, this is going out as a pre-record. Tell us your thoughts in the comments. Thoughts of players that you want to go after. Any other names? Like I say, these a lot of these players are players that are going to fit the mould. You might be thinking, why are you looking at him in League Two? He's only played X amount of games, but it fits the mould of what we're going to do with a prospect and the talent that they have. And then we've mixed up with a couple of real hitters that we think will bring us some good talent. So tell us your thoughts on that. how many you would bring in. Just give us your thoughts overall. Any final thoughts from you, Frankie, before we wrap it up?
No, mate, really enjoyed that today. I thought we've got a good list there, good mix of ages and ability. So if anyone from the club's watching and you like your names on the list, make sure you hit me and Jay up. We're available for freelance work.
Yes, mate. Yeah, and if you like the little images that we put together there, we've give you all the information that you want there. We've give you their height, their age, where they're from, their positions, their appearances. You've got all the info on these little cards that we've made up here. But yeah, exactly. We've done your job for you, Gallon. Just go out there and just give them what they want, mate. We broke it all down for you. But no, look, I appreciate your time, Frank. I enjoyed that, mate. I think it was needed. We're obviously going to it a bit more in depth when we do some live shows covering the transfer window as the weeks go on. But yeah, some food for thought for some of them players. Please like, please share, please subscribe. And again, just tell us your thoughts. And this will go out hopefully tonight. It's Thursday now, so we're going to press Micky to try and get out tonight. If not, we'll see you for the Friday night live before we head to Sheffield Wednesday, where the boys will be back. Will you be available for that, Frank?
Yes, mate. I'll be there.
Yeah, so Frankie will be there. I won't be through anniversary commitments on the weekend. But join. Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, but no, join the guys Friday night live before Sheffield Wednesday, and we will see you on the next one.